Good morning, students. Welcome to my school. Today we are going to read a poem that is The Shed, which is written by Frank Flynn. Now, what is basically a shed? Let me tell you, it could be a shelter for animals or just a store where you can keep your stuff which you don't use. Okay, so basically we can call this a shed. Now please keep this image in your mind and let's read the poem. There is a shed at the bottom of our garden with a spider's web hanging across the door. The poet tells that at the end or at the bottom of the garden there is a shed which he can see. Not only this, he can see the spider's web which is hanging across the door. Now why he can see the spider web? Because it does not get cleaned all the time, so there is a spider web, so the poet can see the spider web hanging across the door. Now coming to the third line, the hinges are rusty and creak in the wind. Now what is hinges? It is a piece of metal that joins two sides of a box or door together and allows it to be opened or closed. This is how hinges looked like. The hinges are rusty and creak in the wind. When I am in bed, I lie and I listen. So what happened next is, when the poet is lying in the bed or when the poet is lying down in the bed, he can listen to the voice. And the poet is able to listen all the sound which is being made. Now what kind of sound or voice? Here the poet tries to tell that the door which has become old and the hinges which has become already rusty, as because it is old and rusty, it does not move smoothly. So as it does not move smoothly, whenever wind used to blow, it used to make a sound. That sound or that voice is audible to the poet. At last he says that I will open the door one day. This means the poet is full of curiosity. The poet is having full of curiosity and he is saying that one day he is going to open the door. Coming to the next line, there is a dusty old window around at the side. Now the poet is saying on one side of the shed is an old window which is covered with dust, as because it has not been cleaned regularly, the dust has been covered with three cracked panes of glass. He also says that it has three glass panes which are cracked. I often think there is someone staring at me each time that I pass. Now, the writer is saying that he feels like someone is staring. Staring means someone is looking at him. Whenever he used to pass, he used to feel that someone is looking at him. Someone is staring at him. I will peep through that window one day. I will peep through that window one day means, peep means he is going to look inside. He is saying he is going to look inside from the window one day. My brother says there is a ghost in the shed. Now, here comes his brother. Now, his brother is saying that there is a ghost in the shed who hides under the rotten floorboards. He is saying that the ghost has made himself hidden under the rotten floorboards. And if I ever dare to set foot inside, he will jump out and chop off my head. Now, the writer is trying to explain that his brother is saying that if I am going to show any kind of courage to get inside the shed or went inside the shed, the ghost will jump out from the floorboard and he's going to chop off my head. He's going to chop means cut off my head. But I will take a peep one day. And again he's saying that one day he's going to look inside that what is there in the shed. Now in this line, you will be finding that the poet is trying to convince himself continuously. See, the line begins like this. I know that there isn't really a ghost. Now, the poet here tries to convince. No, there isn't a ghost. My brother tells lies to keep the shed for his den. He is also saying that his brother might be telling lies, or he might be telling fake stories that there is a ghost. He is saying this because he feels that the brother wanted to use the shed for his own purpose. So he does not want me to look inside what is there. He also says there isn't anyone staring or making strange noise. Now the writer is also trying to convince, no, there is no sound, no one is staring at me. In fact, he says that the spider web has also gone. He also says that since I don't know when, he's saying I don't know when, but I will go into the shed one day soon. And he's saying I don't know when, but definitely one day I'm going to get inside, but not just yet. And he also says that he is not in a hurry, but one day definitely he will go inside and he's going to find out what is there in the shed, who is there in the shed. Now let's summarize the poem. There is a small room for storing things. It is in one end of the garden. It is not used regularly as its door is locked. It has spider web over the door. The iron joints of the door are rusty. They make a creaking sharp sound when the wind blows. The narrator is curious to open the door one day to see what is stored there. On one side of the shed is an old window covered with dust. It has 3 glass panes which are cracked. The narrator thinks that someone is looking at her whenever she goes that way. Whenever he goes that way, he plans to look through that window one day into the room. His brother tells him that there is a ghost in the storeroom. It hides under the old wooden floorboards. He tries to frighten me. He tells me that she must never try to enter that room because the ghost will attack him and break his head. But the boy is brave enough. He is determined to look into the shed. He knows that her brother is a liar. He says that there is no ghost in the shed. It is only a hiding place for him. Nobody is looking out at him. Nobody makes noise. Even the spider has gone from the web. So the narrator makes up his mind and a mind to walk into the shed, but he is not in a hurry to execute her plan.